While he was eating, Sherry got up and headed for the shower. Even though school was out for her, she was still on school time. By the time she was dressed and headed for the kitchen, Davey and their dad were gone. While Sherry ate breakfast, their mom reminded her about the laundry and then took their hamper down to the laundry room. Sherry finished eating and joined her mom, who was sorting the laundry. Her mom showed her which pile was which and then sent her up to her room to get her hamper. Sherry sorted about half of her laundry to show she knew where everything went, then went to get Davey's hamper. Sherry, still annoyed with Davey over the trash incident, decided to have a little fun. At his computer, she quickly pulled up a website she had found earlier. It was one of those websites with a lot of strange and inappropriate content, and she knew Davey wouldn't be happy to find out. Maybe this would teach him a lesson. When he got home, there was a note from his mom. It said that she and Sherry were out shopping, big surprise, and he was to be home by 2 o'clock. He grabbed a soda, his trunks, and a towel and headed to the pool. After about an hour of swimming, diving, and general wet enjoyment, the lifeguards called for the break. He got out, toweled off, and staked out his favorite spot on the grass. He spread his towel on the gentle slope, then stretched out on it. Part of the reason it was his favorite spot was that just uphill from there was a well-used path between the snack bar and the party tables. He had gotten lucky a few times in the past, catching glimpses up the skirts of girls who hadn't changed into their suits yet. Today, he got luckier than usual. A group of girls stopped on the path just above him, and he had a clear view of one girl's stars and stripes patterned swimwear. He would have gotten away with it if he hadn't started absently humming the national anthem just as the conversation hit a lull. She recognized the tune and the significance and got upset. When she called him by name, he realized that she was one of his sister's friends. At first, she threatened to step on him, but she realized that would just give him more of a view. Then she threatened to tell his family and stormed off. When the break ended, he dove back in and spent the next half hour enjoying the water. Then he got out and headed for home. It would not be a good idea to start the summer by being late. Vicky and Sherry had driven up just before he went to the pool. Vicky parked a few houses down and watched for him to leave. After he was around the corner, she pulled into the garage. They went inside and got to work. They cleared out the remaining drawer, then stocked his underwear drawer with new items and a couple of slips and a camisole. They folded his cleaned clothes and added them to the locked collection. They also ran the last load of Glenn's clothes through the dryer and took the rest up to the parental suite, as Vicky and Glenn sometimes called their bedroom, and put them away. No male clothes would be easily available to Davey. They had just finished folding the last of Glenn's clothes when they heard Davey come in the front door a whole 5 minutes early. Vicky called out to him, "Go right up and take a shower. And make sure you shampoo all the chlorine out of your hair." She walked into the living room with the stack of clothes in her arms. "I'm waiting on a load of laundry for that swimsuit. When you get out, there will be some things on your bed for you to try on." She followed Davey up the stairs and made sure he went straight into the bathroom. She put Glenn's clothes away while listening for the shower to start running. She knocked briefly on the bathroom door, then went in to collect the suit and towel. She also gathered his clothes from the bathroom floor. She took them downstairs and threw the suit and towel in the washer. She laid out the skirt, blouse, undergarments, and training bra they had selected on his bed. Then, she bagged the dirty clothes and locked them away separately from the clean clothes. She heard the shower water stop and ducked into her room to wait for him to come out. That was close, he thought. He had barely stepped into the shower when his mom barged into the room and took his things. He shrugged and began soaping himself off, relaxing under the warm spray. As he rinsed himself off and reached for the shampoo, he started thinking about his view of his sister's friend. The harder he thought, the more distracted he became. After rinsing out his hair, he decided he had enough time to take care of his new dilemma. Besides, if he was trying something on, his mom was going to want to check the fit. He skipped a beat at the thought of her seeing his reaction. But then his mind went back to the hidden aspect of Sherry's friend. He didn't take long to finish, then rinsed off and turned off the water. He grabbed a towel and dried himself off. Seeing that all his clothes were gone, He wrapped the towel around his waist for the trip to his room. As he hurried to his room, he didn't notice the two people following him. At first, he didn't understand what he was seeing on his bed. Then it hit him. There must be some mistake. These must be for Sherry. "Hey, Mom," he called out. "You made a mistake." "There's no mistake." He jumped and turned around at the sound of her voice in his doorway. His smile faded at the serious look on her face. "Well, I can't wear these," he said. He stepped to his dresser and opened drawer after drawer. His clothes were gone, and there were girls' clothes in their places. Even his shoes had been replaced with pink and white trainers. What is going on? Watch your language. Screw my language. Where are my clothes? What are these things doing in my room? Watch your tone, or this will be much harder on you. I'll explain while you get dressed. But I can't wear these things. You can and you will. Now, either you start dressing or we will start dressing you. Her voice had a deadly seriousness that spoke volumes. Whatever had happened, he knew he was in real trouble. But the only thing I want to hear is you putting those on. Now. He turned his back, dropped the towel, and hesitantly stepped into the feminine undergarments. As he pulled them up, she began. "Recently, your behavior toward girls has been unacceptable. Your peeking and disrespect were bad enough. But what you did to Sherry's belongings was inexcusable." "But I didn't." He started. "Don't even bother trying to deny it. I know what I saw. And we found those items under your pillow, along with that ad." "What?" "Don't try to play innocent." And then there was this. She stepped over to his computer and moved the mouse, revealing the picture Sherry had called up. "You know what we said would happen if we caught you looking at inappropriate things again. But I didn't. I don't want to hear it. Now put this on," she said, handing him the skirt. He stepped into the skirt, pulling it up and fastening it in front like a pair of pants. "No, that goes in back." She reached over and adjusted the skirt. Sherry snickered. "Now the top," she said sternly. "But Mom." "No." As he struggled into the unfamiliar garment, she continued, "Since you are going to such lengths to explore things you're not supposed to, I've decided to make it easier for you. For the next week, you will be living as a girl." "What?" "You can't do that." "I can and I am. I've already made arrangements. When you were born, we decided that if you were a girl, we would name you Robin. So, for as long as this lasts, that will be your name. By this time tomorrow, Robin will have a pool pass, a school ID, and other records. Now put on the blouse. I'm sure you can figure that one out." Davey started putting on the blouse, and his mom continued. "To start with, this will last a week. If, by the end of that time, you've shown me that you've learned your lesson, that will be the end of it. But if you misbehave, days will be added. And we have other measures available. If this lasts long enough, you will be attending summer school as Robin." "That's impossible. Robin isn't even a real person. According to the records, she will be real enough. We have people in all the right places to make it happen." "But why?" "We've been over that. Now you can feel for yourself what it's like when people stare and treat you like something else. And remember, if anyone crosses boundaries, they will know your secret. And the same is true if someone touches you inappropriately. Just think about what could happen if the wrong image of you surfaced." Davey had a horrified look on his face. "And that's not all," Sherry chimed in. "Right now you walk like a boy, talk like a boy, eat like a boy, even stand up and sit down like a boy. Anyone who sees you doing that will see right through you." "That's right." His mom agreed. "For the next couple of hours, we will be teaching you the basics of looking like a girl in public. And after dinner, we will be going out to do some shopping." "You expect me to go out in public like this?" "That is the idea. This wouldn't do much if you stayed locked in your room all week. You'll be out there, for people to see. If they see a boy in a girl's outfit, that could be very uncomfortable for you. If they see a girl, even an unusual one, they probably won't think twice about it. So pay attention while we teach you." Sherry finished. The next 2 hours were terrifying but educational. He learned to sit and stand like a girl. How to get in and out of a car like a girl. How to walk in a skirt without drawing too much attention. Even how to use the restroom, always sit. Always take some toilet paper and at least pretend to wipe. People will expect to hear the paper. There wasn't enough time to teach him how to walk in heels or how to talk like a girl. They just told him not to try to make his voice too high and to say as little as possible for now. Davey paid a lot of attention. He knew he would need all that information very soon, and it would be sink or swim time. They would put a wig and some makeup on him before they left, but it would mostly be his actions and attitude that would make the difference between blending in and feeling exposed. Glenn was happy to be coming home. It was only Wednesday, but it felt like a long overdue Friday. Two of his executives were going to be publicly involved in events that were quite at odds with each other. One was in a GLBT group participating in a parade and street fair to raise awareness of their issues and raise money for charity. The other was in a coalition of conservative denominations holding a rally and carnival to raise money for charity. Both had requested corporate donations and time off. Both sets of charities had been vetted and found to be legitimate, so both requests had been granted. He had spent the day ensuring the company was reminded of its policies embracing diversity and that the PR people were up to speed on the situation. When he walked in the door, the first thing he saw was his son, dressed as a girl. For a second, he wondered if he was having a work-related flashback. He put down his briefcase and sighed. I'll bite. What is this all about? Mom's gone crazy. She's blaming me for things I didn't even do and making me spend a week living as a girl. Vicky gestured for Glenn to come into the kitchen, fixed him a drink, and shared what she had discovered and her plan. He wasn't particularly shocked by Davey's behavior, though the situation could still cause problems. Glenn tried raising some practical concerns, but Vicky had answers for all of them. It was clear that she had a lot of help and had planned everything thoroughly. While Glenn was cutting off Davey's internet access, he was deep in thought. He realized that Vicky was so involved in the process of making things happen that it would be hard to argue with her directly. What he needed was a way to slow things down and give her time to cool off, without making it seem like he was attacking her plan. This was as delicate as some of the negotiations he had to do at work. His first priority was to break the momentum before it got worse. He had a good way to do that. He returned to the kitchen. You've had a busy and stressful day, it sounds like. You could say that. I've got an idea. Why don't I take you out for a casual, relaxing dinner, just the two of us? I can order pizza for the kids. But I need to take Davey shopping for some things tonight. Tomorrow will be soon enough for that. You need to relax before you completely stress out. This is going to be a busy week for you. I guess. I'd better go up and change. You should be fine as you are. We'll go someplace casual. Maybe grab some ice cream afterward. He told the kids their plan and got their pizza preferences while Vicky finished preparing the salad she had been working on when he asked her out. Glenn went into his den/office to make the call. After ordering the pizza, he made another call. Soon, he had some directions safely stowed in his pocket. Vicky finished preparing the salad, then made a phone call of her own. She let Janet know about the change in plans and asked her to pass the information on to the others. Janet agreed and suggested that tomorrow's trip include a visit to the beauty parlor for some hairstyling and maybe even ear piercing. Vicky agreed, and they said their goodbyes. She was upstairs fixing her face when the pizza arrived. Davey made sure he stayed out of sight in the kitchen while Glenn paid for the pizza and tipped the delivery driver. After the door closed, Davey reappeared with a plate and a glass of soda. As he was loading his plate, Vicky reminded both kids to eat their salad as well. She told Davey that Sherry would teach him a bit about makeup after they were done eating. Glenn rolled his eyes at that. They all said their goodbyes and the parents left. Davey took his heaping plate of pizza and soda and stomped up to his room. After Davey put the pizza down, he dug out his digital recorder. It could only record about 20 minutes in the highest quality, but that should be enough. He placed it in a spot where he knew it wouldn't be noticed. He started a CD playing and turned down the volume. Sherry, what is it now? I need your help. I'll be there in a minute. When he heard her coming down the stairs, he started the recorder and stepped away from it. What is it this time? She asked, striding through the door. Why did you do it, Sherry? Why did you frame me? I told you I'd get you back for that trash thing. Besides, Mom recognized the stains. If I didn't make her think they came from you, she'd know I was messing around. She would have really flipped out. You were already in trouble anyway. But why the computer thing? In case she didn't buy it. She already knew about you and those sites. I just used that to make her even more certain. What if I tell them? Who do you think they'll believe? A kid who's already in trouble for sneaking around and looking at inappropriate stuff? Or their responsible daughter, whose worst sin lately was skipping trash duty? They know about your habits. They know about your websites. It all fits. Just get out of here. Fine. I'll just tell Mom you were misbehaving while they were gone. I don't care what lies you tell her. Just get out. He got up and advanced on her, ushering her out the door. Once she was out, he slammed the door. She stomped back downstairs. He got out his recorder and stopped it. He carefully hid the recorder, just in case she came back in. Now the only question was what to do with it. Their parents would hear it, that was for sure. This had to be enough to get his clothes back. Maybe more? He could put parts of it online. He could probably even sneak it into that silly blog of hers. Just in case, he got the recorder out again and uploaded the recording to his homework folder. Then he hid it again. Since he couldn't go online, he started up one of his games and got lost in it. Glenn took Vicky to their favorite casual dining place. It was a different experience being there without the kids. They ordered a deep-fried appetizer, then settled in and enjoyed themselves. By unspoken agreement, they talked about friends, movies, things, and people they had seen, everything but the kids or what had happened that day. They even split a dessert, one of the restaurant's signature confections. Well-fed and relaxed, they prepared to leave. I almost hate to go home now, Vicky sighed. Good. We're not going home yet. Glenn had an odd look in his eyes, a look that usually meant he was up to something interesting. Where are we going? Just out for a nightcap and maybe a little dancing. It's a surprise. Try as she might, she couldn't get him to say anything more about it. He just kept his mysterious smile. After a short drive, they pulled into the parking lot of a somewhat run-down-looking bar or club. She couldn't read the name of the place, but she wasn't particularly concerned. When they were first married, some of their favorite places were little more than dives. Although it took her eyes a few minutes to adjust to the subdued lighting after the brightness of a near-summer evening, she saw that it was a bar, with a scattering of small tables and a clear spot for dancing. Like the lighting, the tone of the place was subdued, but comfortable. There were a few couples dancing and more couples and singles sitting at the bar and their tables. They found a table and ordered their drinks. Glenn ordered an iced tea since he was driving. Vicky ordered a Midori daiquiri. As they settled in with their drinks, she noticed that there was something about the people there that was making her uncomfortable. Part of it seemed to be an undercurrent she had seen before. They acted like people who were very unhappy with their lives, trying to forget that unhappiness for a while. But there was something more. She nearly choked on her drink when she figured out what it was. Most of the women there were really men. Some even had beards or mustaches. Even in this subdued lighting, now that her eyes were adjusted, she saw that most of them couldn't really pass as women to save their lives. It was what do you call it? A drag club? Not one of those places with elaborate entertainments, like in that Robin Williams movie. Just a bar where men dressed like women could come, drink, and socialize a bit. A few looked to be in their 20s, but most looked much older. Some of the men even looked out of place. Then she saw her. Him. Whatever. Out on the dance floor was a person who looked a bit like Glenn in a wig and dress. And the dress was almost like one of Sherry's old dresses. No, not Glenn. A grown-up Davey. Older, with a face that looked almost completely lifeless. Glenn saw the color drain from her face. He had positioned himself with his back to the dance floor so he could watch her. As the music ended, he asked, "What is it?" his voice full of concern. "What do you want?" "Not that," she blurted, drawing curious looks from nearby tables. More quietly, she said, "I just want to go home, Glenn." He nodded, tossed a tip on the table, and took her back to the car. Once they were on their way again, he looked at her and asked, "Are you okay?" "Yes." "No. I don't know." "Look, Glenn, can we pull over somewhere and just talk?" "Of course." They pulled into the parking lot of a nearby park. While there were some people enjoying the late twilight and the cool air, none of them seemed to pay any attention to them. Vicky just sat there, staring out the window, for what seemed like an hour. Finally, she spoke. "It wasn't a good idea, was it?" Glenn knew what she meant. But he also knew she needed to really say it, so he acted confused. What, going to dinner? No. The thing with Davey. The dresses and everything. She sobbed. He reached around and hugged her. No, it really wasn't, he gently agreed. I saw him there, but he was older and unhappy. Have I really done that to him? Not really. He's young, and he's strong, and he's a good kid, Vicky. I think it would take a lot more than one afternoon to do anything like that to him. We can fix it, and if he does have any issues, we can get him help. They sat there hugging and watching the activity at the park for a while until Vicky's breathing steadied and her tears stopped. Glenn started the car and drove them home. Sherry heard the car pull up and moved to meet them at the door with a smirk on her face. This was going to be good. As the door started to open, she started, "You won't believe. Oh my God." The smirk vanished. Mom, what happened? Dad? Are you two okay? We're fine, Sherry, Glenn answered. Why don't you go wait in your room, and we'll be there in a bit. We have some things to tell you, but we need to talk to Davey first. Confused, and more than a little afraid, she went up to her room. What was the trouble? Did they have a fight? Was Dad leaving Mom, leaving us? Was someone sick? Dying? Dead? Whatever it was, it couldn't be good. Not if it left Mom looking like that. They slowly went up to Davey's door. The sounds coming through the door let them know that he was playing some game on his computer. Probably pretending he's shooting his sister and me, Vicky commented, ruefully. They knocked gently. Davey, it's us, Glenn said. Can we come in and talk? There's no lock, he replied. As he killed the game, he commented, You're home early. What happened? He turned and saw them, as Glenn closed the door behind them. Looking at his mom, he repeated, What happened? We talked about some things, and now we need to talk to you. Oh. 'Kay, before we do, I have something I think you should hear. He got out the recorder and played the conversation for them. Vicky's face went from dead white to purple, while Glenn's expression went from surprised to angry, and then to thoughtful. As he switched off the recorder, he saw his mom sit on his bed. She looked like her legs had collapsed under her. He had expected a reaction, but not that much of a reaction. I had music playing in the background, so you can tell that it wasn't tampered with. Glenn got a look of respect. That was a clever touch. How did you think of that? Davey allowed himself a slight grin. I saw it on some TV show. Well, we will be discussing this with Sherry after we are done here. But first, he glanced at the bed meaningfully. Your mom has some things she wants to say to you. She held out her arms, inviting him to sit next to her. When he did so, she hugged him and blurted, Oh, Davey, I am so sorry. What we did to you today was very wrong, and we should not have done it. Here is the key, and you can get your clothes any time. Your dad will hook up the internet connection again in a few minutes. Davey glanced at the recorder. He had expected a reaction to the recording, but this blew him away. Vicky saw his glance and guessed what he was thinking. No, it wasn't the recording. This is what we came up to tell you. I fell for some bad advice and got carried away. She paused for a moment, gathering her thoughts. We have always tried to raise you two to understand that actions have consequences. Your dad just helped me to see some of the possible outcomes of this punishment. I had not really considered all of the likely consequences of my actions. Sherry's actions will also have consequences of their own, she continued, looking meaningfully at the recorder, and you will have some input into some of that. She looked at Glenn and back again. Some of her actions will have more natural consequences, however. We understand that at some time in the future, you will become more independent in ways we may not fully understand. We can hope that will be the very distant future. She gave him a rueful half-smile, but we know that may not be the case. This is not really the time for such a discussion. You and your dad will have a good long father-son chat. She looked at Glenn meaningfully very soon. But the recording brought up a very important point. When you do start, it is important to let us know. I understand that you might not feel comfortable talking to me about it, especially after today. But your dad is there for you. It can affect a lot of things, especially your visits to the doctor. She got a mildly teasing smile at that. Sherry is going to find out about some of that very soon. There are some checkups people need when they become active, and they are not particularly pleasant. She may see them as a punishment, but they aren't. Most of your checkups will be much less uncomfortable. Well, enough of that. She stood up. Why don't you go get some of your clothes while your dad hooks the computer back up? After that, you can go watch TV or stay in here and go online or whatever. I will go wash my face, and then your dad and I will have a talk with Sherry. May we borrow this? She reached for the recorder. Sure. I don't suppose you'll use it to record your talk with Sherry. No, and we'd rather you did not try to listen. You already know a lot of it anyway. Some parts might get loud, and you will hear those without trying. But she does deserve some semblance of privacy. Rats, he pretended to snap his fingers. Then he grinned. Oh well. It was worth a try. They went their separate ways. Soon he was dressed, connected, and online. He grinned at a shriek from Sherry's room, and the thought of what was going on in there. It had been a bad day, but that was over. And after Sherry's power trip, he was going to enjoy helping decide her consequences. Two bad girls in boys' clothes aren't a big deal. On the other hand, some parts of the day had possibilities. He wondered how it would really feel to wear some of Sherry's clothes. And wearing some of those clothes could have some good points. As a disguise, they could let him go places and see things he otherwise couldn't. And dropping one or two in the laundry every now and then could really help extend the old guilt trip. He would have to be careful, though. If he did it too often, they might send him to someone for counseling or something. Maybe he could get some good ideas from the stories he had found on the web.